Welcome everyone to the Great Care Home Innovation Challenge. This has without doubt been one of our most popular webinars to date, with over 200 attendees. So firstly, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone for joining us. It's great to have you all here, and we really appreciate you giving up your precious time. So today is a really special webinar because we are joined by Hallmark Care Homes, and we are joined by Claire Johnsen, who's the head of innovation at Hallmark Care Homes, and Claire Collen, who is the head of learning and development at Hallmark Care Homes. Also from the Locum side is myself, and I'm going to be hosting the webinar this evening. My name is Stevie McIntyre, and I'm the marketing lead at Locum. We also have Johnny Clark, who is our CEO at Locum, and Jeanette Hare, who is our healthcare lead. We'll just give it a couple more moments to allow everyone to join the webinar. I can see it's filling up brightly. We're nearly got the whole attendee list signed up. So actually, we'll just jump into it straight away because it's so full. If you notice me glancing to my right, I have a second screen, and I am checking on the attendees and also checking if there's any questions. So just before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. This evening, feel free to jump in and ask any questions throughout the webinar. If it's pertinent for us to answer those questions at the time, we will, of course. But bear in mind, there also will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, which will allow us to go through your questions in a little bit more detail. Yeah, as well as that, there is also a chat function. So we encourage everyone who's on the webinar to interact as much as possible. We love chatting amongst yourselves, and we might even pick up on some of the conversation topics later on in the webinar. So we'll just go through what we're going to cover. Hopefully everyone can see this fine. If there's any issues with sound or vision on this, just pop into the chat and we'll try to get everything corrected. So firstly, Johnny's going to do a quick intro about Locum and who we are and what we do and why we're doing this webinar. We're then going to look at the challenges in innovation in care home, because undoubtedly there is challenges. We're then going to really get into the meat of the webinar, and I think the bit that everyone signed up for is to chat about Hallmark Care Homes Care Accelerator and what they found and some of the results in innovation. So, and then we're going to finish off by talking about innovating with Locum, and we will show you some ways that we have helped innovate care homes. And then we're going to end obviously with the Q&A. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Johnny Clark, who will do a little introduction about Locum.
Thank you, Stevie. Good evening, everyone. And firstly, thank you for you're giving up your precious time to spend it tonight, this evening, talking about innovation in care homes. I realise I'm probably the last piece in the puzzle between now and the exciting presentation that both Claires are going to be able to deliver about innovation. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Our core at Locum is innovation, and really the background of the company is that I'm a qualified pharmacist, and really the company was born out of my frustration working as a pharmacist and seeing opportunities for innovation. So I can't tell you how excited I am to have you all join us this evening and talk about the innovation challenges within care. Locum started as a pharmacy business, and you probably guess from our name, it actually started as a tech, so using technology to supply temporary staff locums to pharmacies across the UK. But I'm really pleased to say now that we have a number of care home customers, some of which have joined us on tonight's webinar. And it really is our vision at Locum to mobilise the world's healthcare workforce. And what that means is that we use technology to ensure we get the right healthcare professional in the right place at the right time. I'll just move that across, Stevie, for me. Next slide. Thank you. And what I wanted to do was just give you some examples, really, of the innovation that we've done, even within care. So, over 2 years ago, I had the privilege of working with closely working with a number of care home customers, and really delving into their challenges day to day. Some of which I'm sure you'll be aware still goes on to everyone joining the webinar this evening. So I was able to see challenges where no matter how big the care home actually was, using manual Excel spreadsheets actually to rota staff, sometimes having them printed up in the care home manager's office with lots of tipbacks and corrections and being ready for inspection. I seen examples of employees proudly carrying around the leave diary, you know, to take into the care home manager whenever that they wanted time off. And I've seen examples of some homes using really high and excessive agency spend to really keep their homes open. And really, with those challenges at Locator Locum, we delivered a suite of innovation. And I'm really pleased to say, you know, tonight you'll see examples of our product where we have a rota solution that really gets rid of any paper needed around the rota management process and ensures that it's, you know, fully regulator compliant. We also have a leave solution which staff absolutely love, and that it gets rid of that diary, and they can easily request leave quickly within their phone, see how much leave they have left, and also see who's working with them on a shift. And last but by no means least, we have a bank solution which we believe is really innovative in the care sector, and that enables homes to build up their own pool of temporary staff, to actually enable them to be reactive to the workforce challenges that they have, and actually prevent that decision to go out the agency and incur large costs. So you can see an example here really of our app that we do, but this isn't all the innovation. We continue to innovate, and how we do that is by working closely with our customers, seeing what their challenges are, what success looks like, and then actively working towards success closely with their customers to be able to deliver that. That's all from me. I hope everyone has a great webinar, and I look forward to discussing more in the questions section with everyone throughout tonight. Thank you.
Cheers, Johnny. Appreciate that. That was a really great oversight. And again, if anyone wants any more information on anything Johnny talked about, we'll be sharing resources after the webinar, and we'll also be here for questions at the end. So what we usually do in these webinars is we like to gauge who the audience are and what they want from the webinar, and we try and sum this up in one question. So because of the title, we thought we'd ask this one: what are the innovation challenges for your care home? So how we're going to do this is we're going to launch an interactive poll. We'll give you guys 10 seconds to fill in the answers of onto the poll, and then we will share the results, and we'll have a little bit of discussion around the results. We've already done this poll also on LinkedIn, so I have a little feeling of how it's going to go, but I'll just launch it here. So hopefully everyone should see the poll in their screen in just one moment. Hopefully that's what you can see now. So I'll just give a couple of moments for people to fill those in. So if you click the one that you think most relates to the challenges, the reasons you're not innovating, or what's stopping you. And I can see that we have 40% of the people have voted. I'll let that get right up to the 100% before I shut it down. Okay, 60%. Give it 5 more seconds and we will then shut it down. So get your votes in if you can. Okay, I'll shut that down, and I'll actually share the results on this because it's really interesting. It's something that we noticed on our LinkedIn poll. This is almost exactly the same results, so hopefully it's not exactly the same people voting. So what are innovation challenges for your care home? Budget restraints, of course, that's always going to come into it. Time to implement technology. Fear of change is 25%, and none were ready to innovate, 17%. So well done to the guys who are ready to innovate. We had a quick chat about this before we kicked off the webinar, and I think it's often a conception that it's either innovating or spending time, but it's not. That you can innovate to save time. So potentially there might be a bit of a headache in innovating at the start, but then it'll actually save you time. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg there. So we'll move on in the webinar, and I think that was really interesting. Hopefully by the end of the webinar and end of the discussion, we'll be able to get down to you guys innovating. So yeah, this is just what we expected on the poll. So I think now what we're going to do is we're going to get to the main part of the webinar, and we're going to hand over to Claire and Claire, who are going to introduce themselves and then tell us a little bit about Hallmark, and then we'll get into discussion about the Care Accelerator. So over to you guys.
Hello, Stevie. Thank you very much for including us this evening, and Jeanette and Johnny and everyone out there. It's really exciting to have this opportunity to speak about the Care Accelerator. You asked for me to kick off with a little bit of background about the pair of us, the two Claires. Well, I'm Claire Johnsen, that's me. I'm the head of innovation at Hallmark and Zavista. And a little bit of background, I previously worked on the Cambridge Science Park, one of the biggest incubators there, called St John's Innovation Centre, which was linked with the university. And that was a fantastic place to see great innovation, amazing technology, and really fast change. And also it's exciting to be where we are now, because we have this great opportunity with the Care Accelerator. Claire, over to you.
Thank you. And we're aware it's going to be mighty confusing through the evening, but we're quite used to handing back between Claire and Claire. So I'm the other Claire. I'm Claire Collen. So I'm the head of learning and development at Hallmark Care Homes. And in fact, I would share a lifelong passion for pushing boundaries, taking risks, innovating. And interesting, when we think about the challenges with innovation, I would equally suggest that there are challenges with not innovating. And I would hope that that's something that comes through loud and clear as we share the conversation. So let me start with telling you a little bit more about Hallmark Care Homes. So you can see they're more than 20 years as an organisation. So we're a family-run provider. We've got 19 care homes across England and South Wales, and I would suggest we're recognised for providing high quality care and outstanding innovative facilities. But of course that means that we need to make sure we're not complacent, and it takes really focused work to stay ahead of the curve and maintain that place. The family purchased the first home back in 1997, and they wanted to truly make a difference. And I think that probably resonates for all of us that work for Hallmark, and actually resonates through the Care Accelerator and the approach we've taken to this project. We are determined as an organisation that we provide the highest quality of care and facilities, and that means, of course, employing caring, passionate people. And those caring, passionate people deserve outstanding development and innovation. So innovation in terms of systems, processes, technology, so that they can do the very best job and deliver the very best outcomes for our residents. We have a vision at Hallmark that's leading, as you can see there at the bottom, the leading provider of high quality, relationship-centred care for all residents. So of course, that's underpinned by our Hallmark Charter, and the Charter has been a core part of what Hallmark's all about since inception. But actually, even as a legacy document, it includes the words, we can be counted on to bring innovation and flexibility to meeting the changing demands of our communities and regulators. And doesn't that feel just as relevant now as at the point that it was written? And I think just underpins Hallmark and a real commitment to change, pace of change, but constant adaptation. So against all of that background, you know, that the Care Accelerator came into being. So let me hand back to Claire just to tell you a little bit more about the programme and actually how it came about.
Thank you, Claire. Well, it was on that fertile ground set by the Charter to promote innovation and have an entrepreneurial mindset, which was the sort of the seed bed for this idea. And it's this sort of layering of incidents and a vision that has allowed us to reach where we are today. And it's this layering or journey I just wanted to sort of talk a little bit now. And to get to how because the question was, how did we get to opening the Care Accelerator? And it sort of started in one respect on this foundation was last summer we opened an innovation challenge, and this was open to everybody across the business, both businesses. Everybody was invited to take part. And very quickly, we were overwhelmed by the range and the depth of ideas that were put forward, suggestions. And bear in mind, this was taking part right at the opening stages of the pandemic, so it wasn't an easy moment. But that was also one of the pushes behind it. We realized that this was a period of change, that our environment was rapidly not looking the same as it had been, and we needed to capture that and understand what was happening. But the other piece around the innovation challenge and these sort of massive great ideas that were coming forward was we spotted the talent of the team who were putting forward these ideas and their enthusiasm, the rigor that they used, and we didn't want to lose that. And as I said, there's this layering. So on these two pieces, there's a third. Claire and I both joined the business and we met. We were introduced to each other. And over our first conversation, we were both comparing notes about leadership and development and innovation, our goals for our new jobs, where we wanted to take them. And suddenly we were struck by the similarities. Claire was speaking about how she wanted to encourage this new mindset, to be bolder, to take risks, to use deep levels of critical thinking, build the communication skills, and sort of widen it into a much wider environment. And I was saying exactly the same about innovation. We need to develop a bold mindset and risk take, but also how to get this into a wider community. And by the time we'd finished our coffee cup, we'd both put it down and said, we've just got to do something together. There's so many parallels. And we know from within innovation, there's also this other piece, which many on the call might be familiar with, which is called crossing the chasm. Certainly with many new ideas, you have these great enthusiasts, and the people around the idea think it's great, and they work on it and they chat about it and they're very excited, and then they find it difficult to get it into the wider community. And in the technology space, this is called crossing the chasm, and Claire spoke about this in leadership as well. It's how you have a great idea and then you disperse it into the wider community. And so that with those two threads, we realized that with this Care Accelerator, we needed to bind these two. So not only when we opened the Care Accelerator, we didn't realize, but we were first in sector, but also it's this piece about binding together leadership and innovation. So I think it's a really unique piece. And already now that we're rolling it out, it has proved very beneficial and really interesting, and we're making great headway. I just wanted also to mention that part of the sort of layering, and just one other aspect, is we're doing this with Barclays. Barclays Eagle Labs have joined us, and Barclays, as you may be aware, have got a fantastic network of these labs to encourage innovation, and it's sort of introducing the external piece, because innovation needs external resources to fire in new ideas, and so we're very proud to be able to be working with them as well.
Brilliant. Do you as an organisation feel that the COVID-19 pandemic has escalated the Care Accelerator or innovation as a whole?
Oh, great question. And I guess the simple answer to that would be yes, but as with all things, the learning is in the details. So I would suggest it's pivoted as well as escalated, particularly our delivery model. There's some interesting research from the chief executive of the Chartered Management Institute, and they talk about the 5 truths of leadership that focus on organisations sort of building back better and in the current circumstances. And there's one that feels particularly pertinent for this conversation. So they talk about, the existing growth of digital technologies. Of course, we all see that, and their increasing adoption. It's been accelerated by the pandemic, absolutely, no surprises there. But what's particularly powerful is they cite a report that the world has seen 7 years of digital progress in the last year. And I suppose if we just stop and reflect on that for a second, 7 years of progress, that's accelerated in 1 year. So what does that mean? It's boosted the pre-existing trends, of course, and that's certainly true of the Care Accelerator and its escalation. As with many things, when the global pandemic hits, we all stop, don't we? We just take a moment and pause. And at that point, we could have halted the Care Accelerator. But I think, as we said at the beginning, to maintain our position, we had a very powerful executive commitment to carry on. So, and in fact, they've supported us by attending, delivering masterclasses, sponsoring projects. Some of them are here tonight who shall remain nameless, but they're supporting us every step of the way. And actually, this pivoting and escalation has brought together a program that's entirely virtual. And we have delivered the Care Accelerator program to date without physically meeting. We brought together Barclays, code-based university professors, masterclasses. We've adapted to leverage this opportunity. We're learning by doing every step of the way and learning fast. So we are innovating as we go. And actually, through all of this rich learning from the programme, the key thing is participants have been able to take it back to the day job. We've seen them staying ahead of the curve, delivering best outcomes. And if we think about change, meeting the really changing demands of residents, relatives, stakeholders. So I think absolutely has it escalated, yes, but it's pivoted so much and added so much value to us as individuals and as a business as well.
That's amazing. It's amazing to think that, you know, you guys haven't met physically since doing this, and that you've innovated so much already. So that's to be congratulated in itself. So you kind of touched on some examples there, and could you give us a couple more examples of just how the Care Accelerator has impacted either staff, relatives, and the residents themselves?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. I just want to sort of go back a step, and it's a big part of the Care Accelerator, and Johnny touched on it. It's this piece about need. With innovation, it's just because you can do it doesn't necessarily mean there's a place for it. And I think that in itself can create uncertainties and uncomfortableness. It's if you can get that alignment, and in fact, that is sort of what innovation is a new idea finding its user, its commercial need potentially, or somebody who just wants to use it. And innovation is that marvelous overlap, making those two bits happen. So that's the piece that we've been really focusing on at the Care Accelerator, is understanding that need, because in sort of to answer your question about the technology which has helped teams and residents, it's the step behind that. It's critical to understand the need that you're trying to fulfill or answer or make better. But I should imagine with everybody on the call, the big piece has been probably infection control. So that was a big need for us, and I think would be for many of us out there. And just to give you a little bit of insight how we tackle that, for example, we've taken on a new product which has got a nanotechnology, which has helped the sort of make sure that the virus doesn't sit on the surface. Another need that I think has been very, very important, obviously, is managing visitations and visits to the care homes. And with that, we've got a new reception facility there, which has removed the need for paper. And also we've put in an acoustic monitoring system. So it's always about the need. That has to be right at the front. You have to really understand what you're trying to do. And it was, as Johnny said, it's speaking to your customers, understanding where this sits. So hopefully that just gives you some insight of how we've tackled it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I've actually just put like a picture of the monitoring system on there so that the people on the attendees can see what we're talking about. So just to break down really simplistically, what were the goals at the outset of the Care Accelerator, and what have you learned already? If you could break it down to a couple of points.
Absolutely, and I guess to follow on from what Claire talked about in terms of need, we were very clear at the beginning of the programme that there were probably two main goals and needs that we were going to be able to address, and then Claire and I probably felt equally passionate about both of them. So a goal to identify really innovative solutions to real business challenges, and they really, these business challenges and solutions came forward from the innovation challenge that Claire talked about. So we've got 3 project groups currently working, looking at a wide diversity and range of current issues. So building operations to make them carbon neutral, operating our care homes in an environmentally sustainable fashion, and actually a really core one around recruiting, retaining and developing nurses to meet future needs of care. So we have project groups working on these 3 particular challenges to come up with innovative solutions, and being mentored by Barclays, which is adding such value for them. And then of course the piece that's incredibly close to my heart, which is the developing the leadership and the entrepreneurial skills, and the experiential learning that the groups have managed to put into place has really helped them address this sort of challenge of crossing the chasm of innovation. And I think that in itself is something that Claire and I would hold up as being pivotal to the success, that it's really given us a mechanism to overcome that traditional challenge that sits with innovation. And I guess what have we learned? Lots, probably more than we have chance to share tonight. We are learning by doing. And I would say that, you know, Claire and I are being kept on our toes by the group and by the project. So we are changing, adapting along the way. We're learning a lot about working with diverse virtual teams and actually what can be delivered, the art of the possible. We're learning about opportunities for career progression when people really prove to themselves what's possible, and there've already been a couple of promotions through the programme. And I think particularly we've also learned that this pandemic and this project has highlighted a lot of resilience, personal, professional and organisational resilience. So processes, changes, adaptations have been undertaken at pace. And actually all of that has just really accelerated and evidenced that innovation has a place at every table.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think resilience is a key term there. I've heard a lot of organisations, especially in health and social care, use the term resilience, and it seems it's very fitting that it's aligned with innovation so well. Do you feel as an organisation that the health and social care sector does need to innovate, or it's maybe lacking innovation, or more of these accelerator groups need to be set up?
I think we all need to adapt all the time, and with that, you will probably need to change products and processes, which leads you to innovate, to make those changes. To remain relevant, you can't be doing the same thing the whole time. And with that, you need to be able to use that word again, adapt. And if you don't, there's a long list. Take the retail sector, for example, see what's happened there. I mean, you can argue that a lot of that was sort of external forces, but nonetheless, we're all very familiar with the fact that our high streets are not the places that they were, and that retail has taken a terrible knock. When you compare back to what's changing, there's just this adaptation, and how do you do it? And it will be through innovation as you change those products and processes. And I think this past year has just pushed us into that space, faster than we can imagine. We've seen massive changes, and we've all had to adapt very quickly. And with that, we have, at all degrees, we have innovated. And I just think that it isn't something it is something that we're experiencing firsthand at the moment. But also I think it's important to remember that these changes also bring opportunities. Just because it's with this change, you've got fantastic, it can be very positive. So I would sort of urge us actually to embrace this moment and think wisely about this enormous sea change or intersection in the road that we're facing, and what can we do to make the best out of it and use the learnings that we have and be confident with our ability to adapt. We've adapted considerably this last year, and to carry on with that trajectory.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it's really interesting. We just moving on to the next sort of discussion topic. We did a care home manager survey, and just I think it was the end of the second lockdown. We're getting a bit confused on how many lockdowns there's been now, but the end of the second lockdown, and I think the feeling from care home managers was that they were almost at burnout level. And I was just wondering, from your experience, do you feel as there's anything that L&D or the industry as a whole can do to help with that sort of feeling for care home managers?
Particularly pertinent, I think, at the current time, and I guess I would suggest that support is essential for every industry and organisation as we find ourselves moving into more normal times. I think we all recognise, of course, the uncertainty, the disruption of the past year, and it's had a real impact on people's mental, physical, and for some financial health. So that human quality of leadership that actually comes out through the Care Accelerator is increasingly important. As is our ability as leaders to empathise, communicate with our teams, identify health or well-being problems that they might be facing. It would be fair to say that our 3 project teams have achieved things through the Care Accelerator so far that they hardly thought were possible in conditions that they never anticipated would arise. And I think this lesson that we can bounce back from the toughest of setbacks is a really vital one. Our leaders have recognised and responded, and we certainly have meaningful support mechanisms in place, but I think the broader social care sector has as well, and there are a number of mechanisms in place that are there and growing. I mean, I would call out just a few that are very close to my heart. The Institute of Health and Social Care Management has a number of special interest focus groups, one that's dedicated to workforce wellbeing, and actually are generating some incredibly powerful resources at pace that are available and being shared. We have Clubhouse, the social media app that's the audio only of the live discussions. 7 o'clock every Wednesday, shameless plug, there is a health and social care club room that has some fascinating conversations and really valuable. So would absolutely recommend that. Mental health first aiders, that ability to triage sort of physical, mental well-being in the same way we do physical. But I guess the other key thing as well to pull all of that together is that we really focus on supporting team members to have everything they need to do the best job that they can. So we look at an L&D delivery model that's there at point of need. That word need again, that's absolutely run through everything we've done, that we offer opportunities for learning and access to support and resource in the flow of work. And actually we make sure that all our team members, whatever organisation they work in, the job well at the point of time, but actually that we also look at future skills, and isn't that another whole debate we could have about skills and requirements for the future of work, so that we can continue to deliver outstanding care in this sector.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Claire. That really answered that question really well. On your screen, there's a picture. Hopefully, everyone can see this of some residents in a care home with VR headsets on, and they're enjoying themselves. And there's the traditional care element with the care assistant there beside one of the residents. And I just thought that was a pertinent picture for this question. Do you, as a team, think it's possible to pair innovation with traditional practices in care home?
Yes, I don't think it's I think it's one of the pieces that people worry about. It's a sort of an either or, that possibly technology is coming up to eat your lunch, and I don't think that needs to be the case at all. If anything, I think it's a process that can help you deliver better care, and it's just understanding that. And I was sort of discussing this with Claire earlier today, and we were saying it's a bit like our kitchens. You know, back in the day, people would be growing vegetables and raising animals that they would then spend all day preparing to make their supper, and then they'd be lighting fires, and it would just be, and then washing the plates up afterwards, and then sharing the food together. It was a very lengthy process. Whereas now, it hasn't, but the underlying needs behind it were that people wanted to eat and prepare food and then eat it together as a family. So that's the need, but it was a very lengthy process to do all that. Now, in our kitchens, we have ovens. We can very quickly cook food. We can prepare it. We don't have to, we can buy it in, and then we'll throw it in the dishwasher later, and it's all washed. But that doesn't change the need. We're still eating our food with our families, preparing and cooking it. And I think that's much the same with most technology. It's the piece that it enhances what you're doing. And I think it's a very interesting piece also that technology can't replace care. There's two, if you read into this, there's two pieces that really cannot be replaced, which is care and creativity. And if you think about it, you know, on care, you couldn't, for example, get somebody out of bed or make them a cup of tea and sit with them, or even empathize and pick up on somebody's mood if they're not feeling very happy, or they've gone quiet. Or you can't, for example, smile with somebody and hold their hand. These are all things that you just can't do online, and that's all part of care. But however you can, and I think this is where the sort of the balance comes in. But technology, and especially digital, can help you, for example, tidy up your case notes, can stop you having paper rotas that get lost. They can help you with the use of variables, track your vital signs, and they can, for example, let you know that you need to test your electricals. Those are all jobs that can be done online. So I think it's that piece about technology can sit very well and actually supports the care that it takes away some of the drudgery and the repetitive pieces that it gives more time. So I think with that sort of question about the fit, I think there's a very tidy fit.
Lovely. Yeah. I agree. We'll start to wrap it up with this final question, because there's some other really great questions that have come into the chat, which we'll pick up at the Q&A section. So really insightful questions. But just finally, what innovations or technology do you see having the most impact in care homes? In particular, what will allow staff getting back to doing what they do best in caring?
Let me start, and then I'll hand back to Claire. So I guess the first piece I'd say is, and you would need to say this, but that I think care teams generally have never left caring. I think there's been a really key piece about understanding needs, and I think probably there's a quote that captures it for me, and then I'll hand back to Claire. Simon Sinek, an author, inspirational speaker, I'm sure a number of us have come across, has written some great books. Start with Why, Together is Better. They feel very appropriate right now, but there's a quote of his that I think is particularly pertinent here, and he says that genius is the idea, but impact comes from action. So actually, regardless of the innovation, the impact of whatever we may do, whatever technology, systems, process we put in place, of course, that really comes from the action that we choose to take with it and the follow through. So Claire, let me hand back to you.
Thanks, Claire. I think if you're looking for perhaps the trends and seeing what impacts they will have, so slightly just moving to the side of Claire's answer, I think that telehealth is going to grow as we've seen it arriving and just more and more, and particularly what we've evidenced this last year. Wearables were seen as a bit of a novelty a few years ago, and already they've just become sort of almost mainstream. I think those are definitely here to stay, more of. And I think there's some interesting space around non-invasive diagnostics. I think more and more we'll be seeing that as part, and they'll become more effective. So I suppose it's that whole sort of piece around telehealth and it actually being a tool that helps us care better. It will take away, it will be an extra load lifter to bring that sort of insight and detail that allows care team to deliver the fantastic care that they do.
Perfect, amazing. We'll wrap up the discussion there. We could probably go on all evening. And then we'll come to the questions. There's some good questions for you both at the very end. So without further ado, what I'll do is I'll hand over to Jeanette Hare, who's our healthcare lead here at Located Locum, and she's going to give you an example of how Located Locum has helped innovate one of our clients who's a care home.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much as well just listening to the two Claires. It's really interesting and just to hear your side of innovation and how you feel it's impacting on care. Inspire to Care was one of our clients who actually came on board at the height of the pandemic, a time when people probably didn't want to change things, keep with the current processes, ensure that you have everything in place that you currently work with and not change anything. And Julie Beacon, who was the care home manager, decided this was the perfect time to actually introduce a system. Introduce it because she wanted to reduce the amount of time she was spending on managing a rota and reduce that time of WhatsApping people to try and fill shifts. She was able to implement Located Locum and reduce at least 5 hours per week on admin alone, which is significant, and enable her obviously to get on the floor and be with patients more, or residents. They were able to reduce a lot of paper-based processes as well. I'm sure you guys have it, those who are using manual processes at the minute. You've got paper for your leave, as Johnny mentioned, with the paper leave diary, and you've got paper for your rotas that maybe are stuck up on a wall. That's all been eliminated. And obviously, again, it reduces the potential GDPR risks involved in that. With even in implementing a process for the likes of your rota and leave, the system can actually collate reports for you. So it means that you're eliminating that manual process for payroll. And a big known fact is that with anyone who manually captures information for payroll, so sits there and calculates the hours somebody has worked, you have between 1% and 8% error rate, and that's a fact. feel free to Google it at the end. So again, it's been able to eliminate the time spent on calculating that information. There's touch of a button reporting for them, and also it reduces their error rate for that. And Johnny mentioned and touched on it earlier, was around our bank module. We've been able to grow Julie's bank pool by 400% in 8 weeks, which is amazing. Because what that enables them to do is obviously have their own pool of staff. They're not going out to agency. You know, they're able to rely on other staff or their bank pool effectively to fill those gaps that they need maybe last minute. And also side of eliminating the usage of processes for an antiquated system, you know, taking away that. And as Claire mentioned, you know, it's a little bit like, yes, there's processes there, and I hear it sometimes where there's processes and they work and we're happy with what we're doing, and I totally get that. But back in the day, as Claire said, people were happy to spend all day making dinner. You know, you still got your dinner at the end of it, but it took you all day to do so. And this is kind of the mindset of some, where you've got a process and you're happy with it and you're not changing it. Our system is here to reduce the amount of time you have to take to do something, give you your time back, and enable you to do things that you really want to do, and then eliminate as well that whole stress, but also give staff the ability and the visibility to see their rotas, to request leave when they're sitting at home and they remember to do it, and for you to receive the notifications through automatically. You know, it's all about reducing errors and making things as easy as possible. And that's all really from me. Also, sorry, just to jump in, if anybody does want to see more of the system, feel free at the end to drop a message, or and we can arrange a personalised demonstration as well for that.
Brilliant, Jen. We have a short video from Julie actually talking about some of these innovations, so I'll just share that quickly and then we'll jump into the questions, because I'm aware we're getting short of time. So hopefully everyone should be able to see Julie's video in just a moment, if it lets me.
No pressure.
This is always a tricky one, isn't it?
Locum would have saved me on average of 5 to 10 hours per week. Locum has allowed me to eliminate paper, and certainly with the rota, I am able, under regulations, we need to have a paper-based off-duty, and after speaking with the regulator, they would be happy that that is printed out at the time that they've requested it. To be honest, it's every week Locum come up with something new. They have identified maybe the problems that we have had or the issues that have been there. They've solved them, and then they've added something else on. And mostly every week I have had a smile on my face that, oh, this is amazing. Oh, they were able to do this, and I can do away with the papers and reduce the filing system and printing everything off and having to file it. That makes me, as a manager, so much happier, because it allows me time to focus on the residents. And
Stop that there, because we're getting a wee bit of reverb on it, and anyone can see that. I'll share that afterwards, the whole video testimonial, just because it was coming back a little bit reverb, and that's never nice. We jump into the questions now, because there's some really good ones that I would love to cover. Especially to the two Claires, you guys might be a little bit bombarded here. I'm aware we're just going to run over some time, but if we don't get to anything, I'm sure Claire and Claire, you guys could put together some answers, and we'll send those out with the resources. So we'll start with Julie. Her question is, have you been able to quantify any benefits of innovations delivered through the accelerator? Do you select the best idea? How do you select the best ideas with so many responses to your summer challenge? I don't know who wants to take that.
Should I do that one? Okay. Thank you very much for your question. How it's worked was it's actually the innovation challenge, then there was a sort of full stop, and then we started the accelerator. So the ideas that came out of the challenge, there were 3 winners, and they are currently being implemented at the moment. And then for the accelerator, 3 challenges have been identified, and these are sort of in parallel with a strategic vision for the company. So that's how we've managed it.
And I guess just building on that in terms of results, we've certainly seen some immediate impact, as we've said, in terms of promotions, ideas coming through, and we will be bringing all of this to fruition when our 3 project groups present their recommendations and ideas to our exec board in just a few short weeks. So I guess that's when we then see the real impact from all of the hard work that they've put in so far.
Brilliant. So the next question is from Kashal. What digital tools and software are homes using to adapt and innovate? Could you give any concrete examples? Potentially Jeanette or Johnny, you guys can answer this in terms of our platform. We've maybe covered that one with the case study there.
With regards, I think a really big innovation for care is around the staff app. Something that comes up time and time again is poor visibility for rota. So care home managers are constantly being asked, when am I working? And who am I working with? That sort of aspect, where it takes that away. Staff are able to see exactly when they're working. They can see their up and coming shifts. They can see the rota. They can see who else is on. But it also enables them to request their leave, for instance, and send that through an app at a time that suits them. They don't have to be in the home to apply for leave. So they can do it when they remember in the evening, for instance. And the benefit of that is that the home manager gets a notification straight away. They're able to view through the app who else is off, so they can see if they're going to leave themselves with any gaps. And then they're able to actually approve that. And if they approve it, it'll then automatically drop into the rota and highlight any gaps. So if they need to get staff to fill those shifts, or if they need to decline it, they have the ability as well to leave a little message. So it might be, there's too many people off, I'm really sorry. But you know, it just gives more visibility, and that whole one source of truth is a big thing too, with homes who are using spreadsheets, and changes are happening all the time, and they're constantly having to send out new spreadsheets, and staff are looking at different copies, you know, and errors can happen from that point of view, and gaps can arise, which then leads to having to maybe go to agency at last minute and increasing your agency spend. So by utilising the app, you know, it saves time, money, and also reduces your errors.
Brilliant, thanks, Jen. There's another one from Julie. This is a good one about the Care Accelerator specifically. Is the Care Accelerator looking at infrastructure needed in care home buildings to facilitate this digital innovation?
Do you want to start on that one, Claire?
Yeah, so I guess it is. I mean, we are. It's like many of these things, isn't it? Sometimes when you start with the question, and actually as you explore it a bit more, you find out that there is a lot more that sits beneath it. So because we are focusing 2 of the project groups very specifically on our sort of carbon footprint, the way we build, but also the way that we operate our care homes. So looking for efficiencies, but also looking at ways that technology can really support us to do that. And I think what's been incredibly exciting about it is that the more that the groups have worked and the more that we've explored, the more opportunities have been uncovered.
And I can build on that one as well, because at Hallmark, this is where the Savista piece comes in. We build our own care homes. So the innovation runs across both parts of the business, because what we build is what we manage later. So it's that fantastic circle and gives us great opportunity to put something in right in the start and get it right. It also is a requirement to look ahead, because we need to be thinking what's coming down the line, because we will be putting this in our homes for the future benefit of residents. So that's the extra piece.
Thank you. There's a number of questions here that I think are very detailed, and I don't think we've got time to get into them just now. So if we haven't answered your questions, like I say, we will get back to them. There's one for Johnny or Jeanette. Is there somewhere we can look and have a trial of the Located Locum app?
I'll let you go, Jeanette.
Sorry, my mic was on mute there. So I'm really against trials in the sense of, in order for you to benefit from utilising our software, you need to have your data in there, and you need to have it set up exactly how you currently operate, and we do that for you. And so we do all your migrations, and we onboard you, your training, and then you have the ability, obviously, to utilise the system. If you find, we offer like a cooling off period. So once you are using the system, you have 30 days if it doesn't fit your needs. We are very confident that it does, and it will do exactly what it says in the tin. And we've proven it with clients, obviously, that are utilising the system. But I would suggest maybe getting a demonstration of the product, which is very much personalised to you, and letting you see it, answer any questions on how you're currently working, and how our system can fit into those processes. And at the end of that, if you feel actually this does seem to do, then we can obviously get you set up on the system, and you'll have time then after you have all your information in to utilise it and benefit from it.
Perfect, Jen.
I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, if you need more information, pop another question in the chat. I'll be monitoring it for about 10 minutes after we end here, and I'll get back to you or put it into the resources. There is one more question that we're going to cover. There's a couple more here that I just don't think we're going to get into. There's one here, with the rise in wearable technology, has anyone considered residents with fragile skin, because elderly people generally have more fragile skin? Is there anything that innovations are going to help with that? I don't know who's going to answer that one.
Shall I start? Well, wearables don't have to be wristbands. They can be in other items. For example, they could be in a mattress. It doesn't have to be specifically. They can also be on your clothes. Wearables is just something that is with you, and then it monitors you continuously. So I take your point about skin, and skin can be fragile, but there are other ways of doing it. And there's a team, there are numerous teams that are putting sensors into clothes, if that helps.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, like I say, if there's any more further points on that, we can share it out in the resources afterwards. I think this is probably the time to wrap up. I know we're slightly over the time allotment, and there's a number of questions coming in that are, like I say, very detailed. But I would just like to sum up and just thank you both, Claire and Claire from Hallmark. Thank you so much for coming on. It was so interesting. We could listen all day to the Care Accelerator. I think what you guys have done is fantastic, and we really appreciate giving up your valuable time to come on our webinar. And hopefully the whole audience found it as interesting as we did. So yeah, like I say, in terms of housekeeping, there will be a full recording of this webinar available tomorrow, and we will have that accessible for everyone. And we will share a resource. I put together an ebook just covering some of the things that we've talked about at Locum. So we'll share that as well with people. And again, if anyone's got any questions, you can get us at our email address or come through the website chat, and we will be happy to answer them. So guys, do you guys want to put anything in there?
Other than that, thank you very much for inviting us along this evening. It's been really fun.
Yes, thank you very much. I would really hope that the passion that we have for Hallmark, but also for the Care Accelerator, shone through, and absolutely we could continue talking. So we will gladly answer and respond to any questions that we've not had the chance to do. And equally, I'm sure Claire would be happy, like me, that if people want to connect with us on LinkedIn, then please do that too.
Yes, that goes to that. Yes, absolutely, Claire, I'd endorse that totally. I'm very happy. Please do reach out to us.
Yeah, I think we have on the LinkedIn event, we have your links to your profiles on there. So if anyone wants to connect with Claire and Claire, then they can via the LinkedIn event, and likewise with Johnny and Jeanette and myself.
Yeah, I just jump in there and just say thanks so much to all our panelists for the hard work you've putting tonight together. Just how refreshing it is and positive to see innovation in the care home sector. And I think due to the attendees we have tonight, we can see we've added real value, you know, and hopefully spurred other people in this industry to consider innovation in their homes. So thank you.
Okay, brilliant. I'll just close it off there, guys. Thanks again, everyone, for attending. I really appreciate your time this evening. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.